And it's these kind of things that really help bridge Montreal to these bigger cities. And I always let them know it's super appreciated. You know, like we need these kind of things. We need artists like you to be doing more in our towns than just shows.
Right.
So at the end of these sessions, what I always ask them is, yo, you've been around the world, you've been to all sorts of studios. What'd you think? I didn't have to tell you anything. You knew exactly what to do. It was good.
Right.
And that's what kind of an artist wants. You know, they don't want to be crouched over somebody telling them every move to do, every line to cut, every this. You know, you have to understand, and that's why every engineer is an artist at Makeway. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Budz from Makeway Studios, and I'm here with LOWKEY MTL. Let's get it.
Prochaine station.
LOWKEY MTL.
But it was good. Like I feel like when you're busy, you always find time to do like more shit somehow. It's like a weird.
Yeah, well, I mean, and it's also the people you surround yourself with when you're busy. You know,
sure.
If you're busy, that means you're around people who are working.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Like even me, like when I went out to go do my trip out in Kawawachikamach.
Yeah, how was okay? I wanted to get to that. We could actually start with that. Like, fuck it, we'll just go for it.
Whatever. Yeah, I just got back.
So
I was there all of April for a full month.
Right. So you go there to teach music?
Well, it's not like a regular thing. This is the second year I've gone.
Okay.
And I was to teach a music program on iPads. You know, the whole school had iPads given to them.
Oh, cool.
It was all funded. And
where is this again?
In Kawawachikamach, which is a northern reservation. It's in northern Quebec.
Okay.
It's a reservation near Shefferville. It's
Okay.
a fly-in only community. There's no roads from Montreal to lead there, anywhere to lead there.
Oh shit, it's a fly-in only. So is there like a?
There's a train, the 14-hour train from Sept-Îles, which I wasn't about to take.
Yeah.
So they got me a plane over from Montreal.
Okay, and are you landing in like a legit airport, or is it like a landing strip type of thing?
Yeah, it's a landing strip with
That's pretty sick though.
Like this place is probably bigger than like the
No
airport,
fucking way.
you know? Yeah, it's like
Were you sketched out?
You come in there and like the first time, yeah.
Right.
I mean, when you come back, the first time is like, you know, like it's a charter plane, you know, so you're not really that high, and it's
it's like the
plane.
4-seater planes there.
Yeah, very small. And you have reception on the plane. You know, the first year I was going there, I was like, all right, I'm chilling, I'm texting and stuff on the plane. As soon as it lands, gone. No reception. No one told me about that. Like, not that it was a big deal, you know? Like, there's still Wi-Fi zones here and there.
So you're actually just like unplugged when you're there.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool too, though.
It's amazing, man. Yeah. When you live that lifestyle of just every day, you know, from the second you get up, 8 a.m., people are calling, it starts going. To have that break from it, it's amazing.
Yeah, and like
this year I knew about it, so right away I gave my engineer, Giuliano, I gave him my phone. I'm like, yo, hold this down. I'm gonna take just a random old phone that I had laying around that just captures the Wi-Fi.
Oh, okay, so you can still use Wi-Fi there.
Yeah,
but it's
and just this year they got 5. So
okay. Yeah. I was gonna say like it's probably cool to just unplug for a bit, because like I heard like when you're super unplugged, that's when you get like super creative and you could like get back into touch with that creative side.
For sure. And like even just like on the topic of like, you know, when you're busy, you still find work.
Right.
You know, like that. Like before I even landed there, I met the guy who was running the internet company out there, and right away we started talking business. We started talking plans and like what we could be doing like for the town and things like this. So it's like that's right away. Like we were getting to business before I even landed in the town, and we're just me and him on a private plane heading there, and. Great feeling, you know, to just always be pushing next projects, always pushing.
Right, it's like a muscle in your brain though, like that's just always active, because like, that's like I'm like that too to a certain extent. Like I always think of like there's some people that just always have ideas, and like you gotta like write this shit down sometimes. For sure. There's never enough time to do all of them, but it is cool though. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I was definitely able to put my mind to it, and just being separated from the studio for a full month, and to really just like. I feel like at the same time, you know, like I was helping out the kids there, I was doing a whole project, but like at the same time for myself, to have that kind of time to sit back and kind of just look at everything. I was really able to reflect and just remember, you know, like how crazy my mind works on business sense. You know, I'm not locked up in the studio working with somebody in a recording session. I was there and my mind was flying. I was like, damn.
Yeah,
let's get back to it, you know. And I got those vibes like when I first started Makeway, like we're pushing, you know. When you first start something, you go real hard.
What exactly are you doing? So what are you teaching them on the iPad?
So we got GarageBand on all the iPads, and I was teaching them how to produce, structure, and write songs.
So how old are these kids?
It was Sec 1, Sec 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just
last year we had more of a range, and we were even able to do shows and stuff, you know, like they've never had like a hip hop concert in their town.
Right, yeah.
So for me to come out to the reservation and do that, you know, twice.
Oh, you guys did that?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. I came with a group, they live in Montreal, but they were born down there actually, Violent Ground. Okay. And we were able to just really tear it down out there. You know, they even speak their native language, Naskapi. So when they were spitting some rhymes like that, they were really able to relate with the people.
That's really cool. Do you, is there like other artists that came out of there that are like popping off in Montreal?
That I know, it's really just a Violent Ground.
Okay.
You know, it's very small community, about 1,000 people.
Right.
Around there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like Kuujjuaq. I don't know if you. Yeah. Because my friend, like he had to get hours for his pilot license, so like that's where they would like do all the shit. And he would tell me it's such a small community, like everybody knows each other.
Of course, yeah. And even me, like I would have lunch. There's like at the one restaurant.
Right.
You know, there's one restaurant, one grocery store, one dep, you know, and there was no cases at all, you know, so everyone's pretty free out there. It was really nice. But for me, I would go down there, sit to have lunch, and a bunch of kids would come up to me like, hey, you're back in town.
Right, yeah.
Are you doing another show this year? You know? And me, I stick out like a sore thumb out there.
Do they all have like a certain look to them?
Well, it's like northern lifestyle, you know, big winter jackets, you know.
Right. No, I'm saying like facial feature wise, like are they like, is it like
there's a lot of
distinguishable?
Quebec. There's well, within the native community for sure.
Okay.
But a lot of there is just Quebec. You know, it's Quebecers, you know?
That's why it's kind of, it's interesting because like they're up north. But, like,
yeah, and it's just these two towns that are separated really, you know? So there's Schefferville, and then there's a 10-minute drive where you go up to Kawawachikomach, and that's where the reservation is up there. And they interact with each other all the time, but being a teacher not from the lands, you have to stay in Schefferville. So all the teachers do the drive up every morning to go to the schools.
Oh, okay. And it must be like crazy winter. Like there.
Oh yeah. This year was a little bit better, but last year I went, it was in January, December. Like, it was like the worst. We were hitting like -60 some nights.
God damn.
And like it was crazy. I went with a videographer from Montreal, also Carlos Guerra, and just us being able to be out there, both of us disconnected, both at like the top of our game. We were both like, yo, let's make the best of this. Let's really do something cool. And we ended up making a video showing the lands with drones. We went through the schools. We showed a lot of cool stuff, even the shows that we did.
Yeah, that's cool. I would definitely want to check that out, because like it'll give you like an idea of what this town looks like. Can you kind of see like the entire town with the drone footage?
Yes.
Shit.
Yes, very easily. We couldn't fly the drone in Schefferville because the airport literally spans the whole town. So there's nowhere, and you can't fly drones near airports from a certain distance. So there's literally no distance available in the whole town. That's how small it is, to give you an idea. It's really like a 4 or 5 block like little radius that goes on there. Yeah, it's very small. I learned it in like my first like couple days. Just driving around, you know.
No direction problems and shit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So let's get to like you. So your name is Budz.
Yep.
And you own a studio, right?
Makeway
Studios.
Yes.
I've been to that studio. Super sick.
Thank you.
I love it. I want to start with your name. Like, where did you get that name from, Budz? Because I feel like that's not your real name.
No, my real name's Brandon Hecht. But Budz came, you know, back in the day, and still to the day. But back in the day when it was more prominent, you know, just like I was just on the smoker lifestyle, you know.
Right, the Budz.
You know, everyone knew me. I was always around Côte Saint Luc, NDG. You know, these were the grounds. You know, and we just started building a community of musicians at the start. You know, it all started in Côte Saint Luc, where I would just have my little gaming setup, had my headphones and a microphone, and we cut the thumb off a glove and we put it on top of there as a pop filter. And right there we started recording and stuff, you know, and that's how really we were like, okay, like, yo, we got something here. We were just freestyling, we were doing it ourselves, and
So just for fun kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And it never even came to us like, yo, let's go to a professional studio. That was never a mindset that like anyone in my like team ever had, you know.
Especially in Montreal, like I feel like at that time you don't really think of a studio, and like you wouldn't even know if it exists or not, you know.
Yeah.
Spaces for some reason, like we're just so like deprived of everything here.
For sure.
It's like a sick city though. Like it's such a weird situation.
Yeah, and then there wasn't any like really like hip hop studios, especially. You know, like when like we'd look up studios and stuff. Like I remember, like it's just like these like big places with some old dude that like doesn't know anything about your music.
Right.
You know,
and he's like the only source you have, so like you have no choice.
Exactly. So we just started making our own movement or our own thing, and that's where like Makeway came from. It's just like we're pushing through. We're not going to stop, and you know we're doing this on our own grounds.
That's sick. Okay.
Yeah.
And
really
what about the Anu part? Is that just like?
So Anu came in 2015. I started rapping probably around like 2010, 11. But in 2015,
so 2010, 11. That's like the gaming setup rapping you're referring to, or like?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. Yeah. And then like, you know, every year I started upgrading, you know, I moved out, I started renting it out of my condo. Then it started getting a little too hectic, you know, my neighbors thought I was drug dealing because I'd be having so many people in and out.
Right, and like all these random people are showing up to your house.
It's getting blazed up and shit, like the whole place is smoked out, you know, and at some point you get to a level where, you know, you just want to separate your business from your house.
Yeah, and it's key to have a location to actually go to as like and see it as a job.
For sure. So when I came to the point where I was having 10, 12 people in every day, you know, I was like, okay, we got to make a separation because not only is I need my privacy now, but I think there's enough business for me able to afford it. So I started renting out locations, you know, super small, real small locations, and I was able to grow from that. I was actually sharing one with an already built studio. Okay. Horg. He was on Saint Denis. That was the first studio outside of my house that I really rented out, you know? So I was like, yo, let me just try to bring my stuff to your setup. We'll do one day off, one day on, you know?
So you're renting the space, but not the equipment?
Exactly. Okay. I still had my microphone and my computer that I would be bringing in. Okay. So when we started doing that, it was great vibes, we had it, but I ran into the same problem. Every time it was my day to be there, there was a couple other companies around there, and they'd be like, yo, this guy packs it up, there's all these people, they didn't like it.
Oh, they didn't like it?
They didn't like it.
Okay.
Which, you know,
because
you don't want me to do well. The other guy, I guess he wasn't running as much business at that time.
But was it all in the same field of like music?
No, one was a tattoo store, and the other one was like this like porn editing company. Sometimes we'd come in there to some wild scenes.
Like Mind Geek?
I don't know what their name was. They were some local company.
Oh, okay.
So
and they were getting pissed?
You know, everyone was getting pissed. We were just because we were flooding the spot. Right. Every single time it was my day, I had clients, I was working. That was it, you know, but we would do 12 hours a day, if not more. You know, we started in the morning, we end at night. And eventually get to be too, I feel like it was only like a couple of months there, like 3-4 months before I was like, all right, I'm like popping out of control right now. Like I really got to have my own spot. I don't even need to be sharing this with this guy. Right. So I ended up finding a spot across the Bell Center where the Canadian Tower buildings are now. Yeah. So that used to be 1180 Saint Antoine. Okay. And there was tons of jam rooms in there. Oh, right. Okay. Oh yeah, you walk in there, you're getting the sense.
Is that the same building that WeWork is in? You know,
it doesn't.
Oh, it doesn't exist anymore?
Doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, sure.
The Canadian buildings there that they have across the Bell Center.
Oh, okay.
They replaced it with that.
Okay.
So there used to be like probably like 100 jam rooms in there, just little spaces. You know, you walk through the hallways, you get 5 different scents of people smoking here and there and there. You know, it was really like low key, anything goes type building. But I found a little room in there, and I already knew there was probably about like 5 like high-end studios in that building that were really like doing a lot of business.
How did you know this?
Just through, you know, like I knew that when I was starting, people used to come to me to do their drafts, and then they would finish it at these other studios. So I was always like that secondary studio, or just that studio where like I'm gonna practice at.
So you're kind of getting like an into like the industry now, and
exactly.
Like seeing what's actually going on.
Yeah, so I started learning who's doing what, and all I knew is that if I keep pushing the way I'm pushing, I'm gonna take over, you know? So we had so many people coming in. We were getting people from every end of Montreal coming downtown to this location, and it was a box of a spot. You know,
So-
like it got hot in the summer.
Okay.
It was sweaty at times, you know, but we were having all the artists come through and it was popping.
Yeah.
And the booth was like no bigger than this little corner over
That-
here, you know,
yeah.
like it was small. And I remember one day, one of those big studios came up to me and he's like, hey man, I'm moving out. I don't have really that many clients anymore. I was wondering if you want to buy some of my gear. And I was like, buy your gear? Not interested. But in my head, I'm like, I know who I'm gonna call. Call up the landlord that exact night.
shit.
I'm like, yo, what's up with this guy's room?
Yeah.
Because it was a pre-made studio, 20-foot ceilings, wood, booth,
So you don't have to really do much.
huge spot. I
Yeah.
didn't have to do anything besides put my wires through these holes in the ground.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's
Connect my
amazing,
computer
yeah.
and I have a fully built studio with a big booth, big windows, big everything. And I was like, oh, let's get it.
So the dude that was renting it before you was the one who built all that out?
Maybe a couple people before, and
Okay,
it's
okay.
been like passed through a couple companies.
Okay.
But I was like, I know that room. If I'm in there, it's over. And this was
Over.
just as the beginning of Instagram too. So I was just starting my Instagram just came out around then,
Right.
2013.
Yeah, 2012, 2013.
You know, and I was getting into it, and I was like, oh, now I really have something to post.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel Instagram was the biggest help.
That's what I wanted to ask. Like, so what was your main growth? You think was
Instagram,
Instagram?
100%. That pushed
Especially
you.
if you were like in it in the beginning, in 2012, 2013.
For sure. The amount of automation you were able to run on these kind of things back then, and the way that you're able to just really hit up everybody.
Right.
I was using Instagram and every tool that you can to reach out to as many people as possible to be able to bring them all back to Makeway.
So did you have the name Makeway at that time when you got this new place? Or was it always...
Makeway was from the basement. I had that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I was studying at Recording Arts Canada in 2012. That's when I graduated and started the business, incorporating it and everything.
So did you always know that you wanted to do like recording art studio, or did you like how did you know to like study it? You know what I mean? Like
the decision came to study it when we already had our group. There was Makeway and there was Dark Glory. Dark Glory, they had more of the video side of everything. And then there was Makeway, which was more the audio side.
Right.
And I remember speaking to him. I was like, look, we could come together. We could really do something, have a multimedia studio. And the vibe on his side was like, well, look, if we want to be seen as something that's professional, we should be getting our degrees in these kind of things.
True. Yeah,
So
to just give you that credibility.
That's when I was wondering. I was like about to make the big step. I was like, all right, I'm working at Subway right now. I'm like, this ain't for me, you know, like I need to make that step.
Yeah.
It's
you gotta go all in.
I'm not gonna, live my whole life making sandwiches here. Once I was able to actually put my full time, once I quit Subway, I was already had a client base. I already knew how to use the programs.
Are you already making like money from like the studio time you're giving people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's all self-taught? You just like learned how to produce?
I learned how to do it. We were using like little programs like Audacity. If we had problems, we'd look up on YouTube. Eventually, we started learning about plugins and stuff like that. And I say we, it was usually always me like guiding everything with Makeway, but the team that I had around me, we would always bounce ideas off of each other. It was really like a growth as like a whole.
Right.
And we really having that kind of support system around us was
finding like-minded people. It's hard, but like once you do, like I feel like it's a lot of power for sure.
For sure. I had amazing producers to start off with, amazing rappers, and it was just cool because we all started together and we all ended up still being at the top of our games to this day. And it's cool, at least the ones who are still doing it. I can't tell you how many artists I could see that started and stopped and never really reached the goals they were looking for.
I mean, it's hard to like figure out that balance of like being consistent and like also like having to survive, you know what I mean? Like,
of course, and that's why I feel like through seeing that, I was like, damn, like artists really need a place to come together to do something where they're working with people they're comfortable working with and the work actually gets done.
Right.
Because so many times you see people are they're spending their money with this guy. They end up with either bad projects they never release or the work never even comes in, and there's this whole issue and it blocks artists, and when I'm able to get people and myself to do the work so efficiently, it moves the scene.
Yeah,
it really helps. I remember when I first got that big studio, I would have, I've had K-bands in, And he was telling me, and it was just when he was just coming up, he was like, look, man, I love the sound that I'm getting right now. I remember my old studio, I thought I was a bad artist because I would hear back my mixes and I'd be like, yo, this sounds like shit.
Right.
I'm shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, now I know it's not me. You know, like, yo, I'm good. And the confidence came, and like, this is a huge thing that I see in a lot of artists. Once they hear their voice mixed properly, recorded properly, and they could actually get a production out of it, they're like, damn, I'm like, it raises their confidence. They're like, damn, I'm actually a good artist. You know, it's a big part of your song is the engineer and getting it mixed properly. So often you hear somebody and you're like, yo, this sounds like you're good, but like, can't really hear it, but there's something there, and it's usually in the production. And
right, so it's definitely like, it was like a lack of resources, right? And you were solving a problem.
Exactly. And then I would have a lot of people hitting me up saying, look, I need photos, I need graphic designs, and I'd be like, I don't do that. And then it kept happening. I'm like, okay, well, business buds started to kick in. And I was like, look, well, let me start to get a photographer here, a graphic designer there. And I started plugging in all these people where now I could start referring my clients to really get the full package. And that's how Makeway started becoming where it is today.
Right. So initially it was just like
recording.
Yeah. So that you self-taught for the most part. And then when you go to school, like, are you mastering those skills?
Yeah, so in Recording Arts Canada, it was like a 1-year program, really intensive. And yeah, from everything from acoustics to learning the DAWs, learning the programs, they really helped me get the groundwork. But there's no school that's going to teach you how to work with, 10 trap artists when they're banging behind your back, smoking, but and you still got to keep like a professional thing and mixing. Ain't no school ever going to teach you nothing like that.
I was actually, so I was wondering, do they teach you about like management and stuff though? Like
there is, but at least back in 2012, I don't think the school was as developed as it is now, especially in like how vocals are very prominent in recording. I would say 99% of my clients come in just to record vocals. I have a huge booth that we could do bands, drums, everything, but it's vocals. People come in alone with their beat and they just want to sing or rap on top of it, and that's like pretty much like the game these days.
Yeah, do you think like the whole rap battle scene is gone now?
Until like, look, in Montreal it's way different than it is in the States. In Florida, like, there's still things popping, there's still events popping, you know. And I think a big part of battle culture is having the group, is having a lot of people
the hype,
there, the reaction, the vibe, you know. When it's just two people yelling at each other and there's nothing going on, that's not for me. I did 3 battles in 2019, 2020.
In Montreal?
Yeah, at Le Belmont. I did one against Disciple, another against Napalm Sean, then another against Speets.
Okay.
And all of them, they're in front of around 600 to 1,000 people.
Yeah, there's a crowd.
There's a crowd. It's a show. And kind of around these Corona times, they wanted me to do one that was smaller, and I was like, I don't want to go to a barbershop with 20 people or something like that. That's not the vibe. I want that crowd. I want that vibe.
That
I'm
energy,
an entertainer. I've opened up for so many people in Montreal throughout the years. I've grown to love that vibe. It's crazy. But I'll tell you, battling is unlike anything else, because the difference between battling and just making music is you could win or lose in battling. Music, you'll just drop another song. Doesn't do that well. Drop another song, but no one will ever say you lost. There's no losing, so that's why a lot of people are scared to go into that. I was like, look, I freestyle. I mess around with my friends all the time. We freestyle battle each other. I was like, yo, this is pretty natural to me. I think I could do this. And
did you go see a show before actually performing in it?
Yeah, I've even judged battles before I went in.
But I'm saying like the first time you did your rap battle, like were you already like versed in there? Like you already knew like the event people and all this stuff?
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I've judged a couple of those battles
before
going in, and I knew the crowd, I knew the people. I was definitely very comfortable, and I was in my element when I first did it. Some people saw my first battle, they're like, "That's your first time?" Because I really came at the guy. We had T-shirts with his name on it, with his face on it. It was around the time where Eminem did the
8 Mile?
the hit shot towards Machine Gun Kelly.
Oh right, yeah.
So he had like Machine Gun Kellys in the sniper shot and everything. So I did that, but with my opponent's face. We had T-shirts. We had 50 people or more wearing them.
Did you guys film this?
Yeah, it's all filmed. It's all on YouTube. DMS Battle Ring. They hosted the event, and it was hilarious. You know, we really struck him. You know, and part of boxing, part of battling, you know, is psyching out your opponent a bit. And I feel like we definitely got that done that night.
Sure, it's like verbal boxing, yeah.
For sure, and just the hype up towards it, you know, I was really on that.
Like the nerds and all that shit.
Like start the shit online.
Yeah.
I was drop shipping those T-shirts, you know, just doing the worst, getting him pissed off, you know, and it really came down to it. Like he saw the energy I brought.
What about the audience in those crowds? Are they like super like brutal on you, or are they like forgiving?
Bro, if you're good, you're good. If you're not, you're not. You know, like he got like booed at parts.
For sure.
You know, like he choked. Like people aren't.
People are just waiting for.
You come hot. You know, there's definitely in Montreal. There's a lot of French fans of hip hop. So there's definitely you know, a little gap between like understanding sometimes. But for the most part, they get what's going on. They catch the energy. You know, but there's a whole different vibes in the States. You know, I think for Montreal, battle culture may have lowered a little bit. But I feel like, you know, if this whole lockdown thing, if curfew, whatever, all goes away, then there'll definitely be a spot for it to come back real strong. Just like we see URL, Smack, all these people, they have like 5,000 people in those venues there.
Where is that, in Montreal?
No, like in Atlanta.
Oh, right, yeah, in
like
the States.
Florida, yeah, in the States, they got all these.
So you think there's still that demographic in Montreal that if you were to throw an event, there would be a crowd that comes?
Well, the whole thing is if we're allowed to have an event with a crowd that comes.
Right, but like that's.
I think if there is, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Word Up battles, they sell out Club Soda, no problem. You know, it's really just the Corona thing that stopped everything.
Yeah.
We can't do shows, we can't do battles.
Right.
You know, and that was the, you know, for anyone who's really trying to put their talent to the test, you know, you go into a battle ring against somebody, I don't care how good you think you are, you will get put to the test right there, and you will know bar for bar if you're good or if you're not, and the crowd will let you know right away.
Yeah, that always intrigued me, like being able to just rap off the top of your head like that. Like
it's not. It's everything is scripted. You know, it's
to an extent though, right?
There's definitely like, well, me, not everyone does it. I'm a freestyler, so I would incorporate freestyle bars at the beginning of my rounds, you know, responding to some things that he would say.
Okay.
But for the most part, you know, you have about a month to prepare 3 rounds. For this league, they ask for 1:30 rounds.
Okay.
So you just time it out, you get your theatrics through, you get everything good, and like the rest of it's like promo and just like how you hold it down when you're there.
Right, yeah, because I was thinking like, you know, Harry Mack, this guy is like, his main presence on Facebook, which is super cool too. I find that interesting with like the whole Facebook world right now. But did you know who I'm talking about, Harry Mack? He basically, he's on Omegle with people, and then he tells
he's
him
the guy who raps in front of the,
he tells him to say like 3 words, and then he like, so like that level of like freestyling, I was just always fucking crazy to me. I'm like, how do you fucking do that?
I love that. That's how we've done for years, you know, and that's why I knew I was going to be very comfortable going to the battle scene.
Right.
Yeah, and just these two sides, always balancing Makeway and Budz. That's always been the whole thing with me, you know, is where am I going to go, which one's going to do what. But I've always found no matter what, as long as I release a lot of music, I keep doing my thing as Budz, it always goes right back over to Makeway, you know. People see what I'm doing, I influence people, I inspire people when I drop battles. I'll get a bunch of calls the next day like, yo, we're coming to record, I saw your battle, like I'm feeling hyped.
They're inspired.
You know, and like everything just always plays off of each other. I got a new spot for Makeway. People come by, they're interested in the music I'm making now, what's the production looking like, and I've always been self-recorded, you know, I'll work with different producers, but I've always done my own production, my own music, my own engineering.
So how much energy are you, like, how are you splitting the energy between Makeway and like your personal brand?
It's a day-to-day, you know, it's just a day-to-day, I'm in it. Whenever I'm not booked for the studio, I'm trying to work on Budz, you know? It's just that mindset of, let's go, you know, whatever there's time to do.
Is there a certain point in your life?
I don't really say like Monday, Thursday, Fridays, but
right.
You know,
it's not like scheduled.
There's no day to day. It's just this is the music life. Everything I do usually relates back to either Budz or Makeway. So it's just about which one belongs in which boat. Was
there a certain moment in your life where like that switch happened of like your work ethic and like just your focus?
Yeah, when I quit my job.
Okay.
When I quit, my last job I was working at was Moore's. Suited up every day, clean shaved.
Yeah, the suit shop.
not the vibe.
At Fairview?
No, downtown,
Oh,
St. Catherine.
okay.
Just not the move. I didn't feel it. You know, I didn't feel myself. And a big part of this music game and like just feeling inspired is being able to be yourself at all times. And that wasn't my vibe. You know, and just being in the studio, being able to do whatever I needed to do on my day to day. Like I didn't like having all these constraints and stuff like that. Like even now, like,
COVID?
well, I mean, no, with COVID, we respect everything. But I mean, like, you know, like when there's no lockdowns and stuff, we'll work as many hours as we need. We'll leave the studio at time we need to. You know, it's not like, you know, you only work between these 2 hours.
Right,
So
yeah.
if I need to go there and work on something because I'm inspired, I like the feeling that I could go bust down a door.
That's the
right
thing.
now.
That's like a different type of like, that's why I find it so key to like find that thing, which is so hard, right? Like finding that thing that you want to do for the rest of your life, and you could like, you have no problem with it because you can spend hours and like it doesn't feel like hours because you just get into the zone and you just want to see the final product and you just keep pushing, you know. But like when you're working and stuff, that does take away like energy and time.
A lot, and that's why I said getting out to that reservation and really putting everything, just taking a step back and looking at everything. It was amazing. And yeah, when I'm working in the studio with artists, you know, that's like your whole day. That's a huge chunk of your day and energy and time. Where the point where sometimes I'm done 8-9 hours in the studio, Budz doesn't really want to make music. You know, it's like like that side. I'm like, I just want to get out of here right now. You know?
Sure, yeah.
Sometimes I'll come back later on in the night or something like that. I mean, recently with Corona and stuff, but when those things aren't happening, you know, it's a back and forth. I even have a microphone set up, just little microphone in my house whenever I'm feeling it.
Okay, yeah. So do you ever have like those impulsive, like, oh, I got bars right now, I gotta spit
Every
this?
day.
Okay.
Every day. You know, and I always say, you know, music, it also has its own muscle in your brain there. And the more you freestyle, the more that you're doing music, the stronger that it gets. And that muscle gets weak when you stop, you know? So a lot of people, when they come to me, they're like, oh, I haven't been to the booth in a year, 2 years, you know, like I'm a little rusty. It's a real thing. You know, so me just being always able to stay in music, create, and on the fly whenever, I feel like that muscle right now is doing the biggest flex ever.
Yeah, exactly. Or like finding like a job within that industry and like being in that, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot with like especially during COVID, like that's when I really started ramping up like with the creative side of all my shit. And like, what about you during COVID? Like, did you do anything different? Have any realizations or anything?
COVID, we definitely were able to build. We had to change up the way that we acted, you know, as every business did, you know,
right.
such as
At the studio, you're saying?
having the Purell dispensers, having a cleaner coming in a little more often, you know, really making sure all my engineers know to keep a certain level of like cleanliness around the studio. You know, when somebody comes in, you don't want to even know that anyone else has ever been in that room before you. It has to look spotless, it has to look clean, and that's something that I've always taken, you know, with high priority, because I've been into studios where there's a 40 here, there's blunt wraps there, and I'm like,
it's just a mess.
Man, what am I even doing here? You know, like it's
just like a lack of respect for the craft, you know.
Of course, and if you don't respect your business, nobody else will.
100%, yeah.
You know, and in the buildings that I've had in the past, and even in the one I have now, I've seen studios, they come in, they do their thing, and their clients will treat the room how they treat the room. You know, and I see a lot of companies start and a lot of companies stop. And I've always tried to give the most information and advice as I can, but I mean, at the end of the day, you could only really do it yourself. You know, you can only,
that's
motivate
true.
yourself.
Exactly.
You know, no one could really tell you how to live your life. Like you got to tell yourself at the end of the day, this is what I want to do. And if you don't have that motivation, that drive, or at least the vision to understand what your room looks like, it's nothing really anyone could do for you but yourself.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
I've had these situations and it sucks, man. It sucks. I've helped a lot of companies grow, and just to see like teams start, teams manipulate around. You know, they started with these 5 people, and now it's these 3 people, and then they grow, and then you know it's.
Yeah, I feel like this all
company
relates back to like the whole like trying to find your crowd and like having people by your side that are gonna inspire you to just keep going, and like you don't have like that lack of hope where you're just like, okay, fuck it, it's like I don't want to carry this whole team kind of thing, you know.
Of course.
But,
you know, I had that point as well at some, you know, when I used to have 5 artists on the squad. It's just like, look, I'm the one who's pushing everything, I'm the one who's doing everything. I'm almost begging you guys to believe in your dream. It's not fun.
Yeah.
You know, like, why do you want to push someone to do what they want to do?
Right, exactly.
I know
like,
what
it's
I
not your
want to do.
responsibility.
I'm doing this every day.
Yeah.
So what are we going to do? And, you know, there was definitely a thing where back then we didn't have Spotify, we didn't have iTunes where you could literally get streams and see a number value for that stream. That didn't exist. So it was always like, yo, how are we going to make this profitable?
Yeah, like, is
so
this
that was
working,
a huge
right?
thing that discouraged a lot of artists at the beginning. You know, it was all about getting signed to some label or doing good on YouTube, which was super rare.
I feel like those are the wrong reasons though, but it's really hard. That's the thing, it's really hard, especially with music. Like, say you release a music video, like, it's really hard not to look at the numbers, right?
Of course. And also you look at the numbers, you're like, hey, but how does this even relate to money? There was no way for an artist to even know how this would happen back then. So when all these companies started coming out that let you have third-party distribution, changed the game. Now we're really able to see it. Sucks that it came after I had that realization. But, you know, once it came down to it, that's where I really started just pushing myself and my artistry. And been loving it, man. You know, just to be able to do what I want to do on the day-to-day, it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's blessed. It's blessed. Do you have, so the studio you have now is your third studio?
My 11th.
Oh shit. So, okay, we were talking about the third studio.
Yeah,
where
we kind of did a little bouncing back and forth there, but from Côte Saint Luc to my own spot to the building on Saint Denis to the one on Saint Antoine to the second room in Saint Antoine.
So as soon as you start, like,
you know, and there
so
was just so many spots, and there was a temporary location we had. Then we got a new building onto L'Église, and it had 1, 2, 3 spots in there.
So as soon, like, from the condo to like the first like separate location, that's when do you notice like your work and like things starting to change?
For sure. Every location was always an upgrade. It always looked nicer. I always had a better understanding on how to make the layout and how to get everything done properly, you know? So now this building that I just started, it's with On Roll Records, Kyle. And we've been doing amazing work there. You know, he has the top office floor, I have more of the bottom studio area, and we share a photo studio room.
Do you guys own the building?
We don't own the building here, but the amount of renovations and stuff that we've done to it, like, we're there for a long time.
Okay, sick.
Yeah.
Would you have plans of actually just buying the building?
Eventually, for sure. We weren't sure at the beginning, you know, and there was like a fast move we were making. So we just needed to look. We need a location to go in. We want to make it proper, and there's no way that we're getting a little local in some building. Like, we can't do that. I don't want to.
You have to have your own like separate.
You need to have 24 access, and I don't want to have neighbors telling me anything. Or a landlord telling me anything, you know?
Right. What did the building used to be? Because I remember seeing all these vault doors like everywhere.
Yeah, so the building that I'm in right now used to be a bank.
Okay, makes sense.
And I was looking at the design, the whole bottom floor, you know, there was 2 rooms. There was like this main little lobby room, and then there was this vault where it's like a huge, big gold vault door and concrete walls, ceiling, and floor. And I was like, damn. And I'm like,
you could like legit lock yourself in there.
That would be dope to have this, the entrance to the studio. So I started building, laid down the green tape on the floor to kind of mark out where I'd put walls and stuff like that.
Okay.
I went hours and hours of changing it up until I finally found a good design, and we went with it. And everything in that studio, from the lights on the ceiling to the wavy wood ceilings, I designed everything.
Okay, yeah, I haven't gone inside. I just saw the doors. And
I've had amazing construction workers really put together my whole vision.
Okay, so you designed all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just empty concrete room when we came there.
Okay, so where did you get those design ideas from?
Just out of there, you know. Some
based on like the studios you've been in the past and stuff like that?
One of them, the wavy wood ceiling, was from a studio in the old building on St. Catherine. I saw that they had something like that, so I made my own design of it and kind of stretched it out longer.
Do you draw?
Not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. The LED strips, I was just figuring out cool things. I'm like, I don't know, a circle. I would draw with a marker on the ceiling, and I'd do all these circles and lines, and I'd figure out how to do it. He'd give me a little advice on like what's realistic.
Right.
And we went back and forth, and we were able to get these floating squares, these circle things, and like it's all really clean where you don't see the LEDs. They're all tucked in.
It's inside, yeah. And it's purposeful because it soundproofs the room.
Yeah, for sure. It's just having non-parallel walls is always the best for any room.
Okay.
So, you know, especially with the ceiling waving like that, and our ceiling just being uneven.
Actually just like
they all play a small purpose for sure, but like just to make it look clean at the same time, that's always been something I've always valued because, like I said, you respect your place. So with your clients, I have clients that come in my room sometimes and they say, "Oh, do I have to take off my shoes?"
That's blessed. Yeah,
You
exactly.
know?
That's
the respect. And I'm like, nah, don't worry about it. You know,
right.
this is our room.
But that's what I mean. Like that's the vibe you create by having a space like that. Like it's just people are gonna naturally just respect it, you know. And that I find super cool. I wanted to ask you about so now you have your own spot here, and like, did you have any situations where like something crazy happened in the studio where you had like kind of like imposter syndrome and you're like, okay, I can't believe this is happening right now?
Imposter? What do you mean by imposter?
Like imposter syndrome, where you're like you're almost in a sense of like is this happening for real, or like, you know what I mean? Like I can't believe
I've never been too fazed by anything in the studio, but I've definitely there's been tons of funny moments, tons of crazy things happening. I mean, more of those surreal moments happen when you're with like celebrities. When I was with Riff Raff in the studio,
right?
And like 2012, 13, these are the years where he was popping.
That's what I mean. Like,
so I grew up when I started doing music, and this guy's in my studio now in front of me making tracks. I was like, fuck! I'm like, this is fucking crazy. This is nuts. It's him, you know?
Yeah.
And
so that's what I mean.
The whole team, there was like probably like 30 people in the studio at the time, you know, and he's just literally recording, making line for line, and it was a pretty turned up session. This guy, I'll spare the details, but if you know the guy, you know the guy.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. So in these moments, right? Like, are you having these realizations of like fuck, like I just did this, and like now I can do this. You know what I mean?
Well, the cool thing is after these sessions, and after almost every session I have with someone that's more of a celebrity, or because we don't get this really in Montreal. Montreal's such a small town where no one's living here like that's A-list or even B-list.
Yeah, I mean we have Kitchenada, I guess.
Of course,
but that's what I mean. It's all new. It's like happening right now.
Yeah. When we're talking about these guys that come from the States, they come into town to do a show and they leave real quick. So while they're in town for that show, if by chance they need to record something, that's the only time where our music community could really see them getting involved with us, rather than just being like, hey, Montreal, how you doing? Peace out. Yeah. So it's when they come to the studios, that's when, sometimes a local artist will come in, get to meet them. There's an interaction that happens, potentially a bridge that builds, When Mano came in, he did a couple features. And it's these kind of things that really help bridge Montreal to these bigger cities. And I always let them know it's super appreciated. Like we need these kind of things. We need artists like you to be doing more in our towns than just shows.
Right.
So at the end of these sessions, what I always ask them is, you've been around the world, you've been to all sorts of studios. What'd you think? How do I compare? And all of them say the same thing. I'm speechless. I don't have nothing to say. I didn't have to tell you anything. You knew exactly what to do. It was good.
Right.
And that's what kind of an artist wants. They don't want to be crouched over somebody telling them every move to do, every line to cut, everything. You have to understand, and that's why every engineer is an artist at Makeway. It's because you have to have that mindset to know you got to push in a little bit to know, like, is that a good line, is it a bad line? I know what your potential is. I know you could do better than that.
Right, and you've been on the other side, so like you could kind of go inside of his head and see what he's feeling inside.
Every engineer has been on the other side, and that's so important to know what it feels like to be in the booth, to know what's awkward, what makes an artist feel pissed off when they're in the booth. If I'm sitting there and you're working and I don't know what's going on and there's no music going on, I'm in a bad mood. That's why when I have an artist in the booth, it's always moving, it's always clapping. I'm not trying to figure out something while he's in there. I'll figure it out later when he comes out. Right now, it's all the focus is on the artist because he's trying to record, he's in that vibe. And, all recordings start with the source. So if you could get the source to be performing the best that it can be, you're going to end out with a better product.
The source, what do you mean by that?
The artist. The source of the guitar, let's say, or your vocals, like that's the source of the sound.
Oh, right.
So, you have the guitar tuned. Yeah, of course you could do the effects to tune it after, but if that guitar is tuned and ready to go and it's warmed up and you're nice, the source of your sound is going to be amazing. So if you always start good from the top, your end product should line up. Right.
It's that like flow of creativity and like having everything just set up, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you find Montreal is lacking anything? Like I heard engineers are lacking here, which is like there's not as many as any other city.
For sure. I would say we're lacking on platforms.
Okay.
You know, having really reputable platforms that can help artists out, that aren't, you know, production based.
Right.
Things, you know, like these interviews, like LOWKEY MTL, you know, places like all these radio stations that come around. It's super important to have these kind of guys because this is what showcases our artists.
Right.
So we need a
Like
media
properly, yeah.
for our rap culture, for our hip hop culture out here. When you look at the States, there's Top 95. This is what's bringing,
That's what I mean.
constantly bringing up artists.
Yeah.
We don't have nothing
Why do you
like
feel like? Why do you think there's such a lack of that here? Do you think it's like the language barrier?
It's population, it's a language barrier, you know, what gets put to the front in music, you know, if you, when I go to Florida, I have a big relation in Florida. I go there my whole life. I've always been traveling, and recently,
Right, yeah, A1, same thing. You were telling me about that.
when I start going there when I'm like 18 and stuff, that's when I really start going there for music and learning about the studios out there. And I met an artist called Star Fox, and we really started connecting. And ever since back then, he's always been riding for Makeway, and it's been an amazing connection to always have an insight of what's going on down there. And that's why we've always kept tight. So what he tells me, he's like, look, Trippie Redd, this guy's a household name out here. And I was like, he didn't say out here, he just said it's a household name. I was like, no, I don't think anyone would agree. What? He's huge, great artist. Montreal, there's no way any hip hop artist besides Drake or like Nicki Minaj is a household name.
Right.
But that's when I started to realize, I'm like, why does he think this, or why are these kind of ideas getting flown around? Is because of the radio stations, because of how much these names get played out there, because of their actual community.
Content, yeah.
If these guys came down to Montreal, they'd be like, yo, where's the hip hop channel? You know, oh, you gotta wait till 1 a.m. and then, you know, they play something for like 2-3 hours. You know, it's like, that's the extent of our hip hop scene out here for the radios. You go there all day, there's 10, 20 stations that you could pop on, and you're hearing the newest artists, you're hearing what's going on. Yeah. Unless you got satellite radio, where now it's starting to kind of flow over.
Right. But even then, like, it's
never going to be prominent.
It's rare that people are actually paying for Sirius XM and shit like that here, you know? Like, it's always straight, like, phone to Bluetooth, right? That's so true. Like, there's such a lack in
radio
space
plays
here.
a huge part, and we've never...
Even today?
100%. And it's what gives you the general idea of what the music is like in a certain town, you know, and if it's being played, that means it's being requested, that means there's more of a community.
But that's what I mean. I feel like the community aspect, what you just said, community is so key, and like that's what you got to build, because like that's what we're lacking here. Like we need to fucking build the community, and now with like the YouTube space and shit, we have access to like an international audience. And like how I see it is like, even if Montreal's population is not that crazy, around like neighboring cities, they're still going to be interested in Montreal stuff. They do, like, whenever someone visits Toronto, they always stop by Montreal, right? And this is known to be like a party city. So like I feel like it's just a lack of like these types of content and like visuals, like for example, if you have on your YouTube channel, if you have like a guy vlogging the behind the scenes of what's happening in the studio, like that's fucking entertaining. I would definitely watch that shit, you know?
For sure.
So it's just a lack of like documenting shit, you know?
It's wild, you know, and it's just where we're at right now, and it's the interest into the hip hop community as well, you know, and as these things grows, as there's people like, you know, Domain Source, DMS doing these battle events, or Word Up doing these things, you know, this is what helps the hip hop community grow. But at the end of the day, the more platforms that we have for artists, the more that are, you know, that get recognized, you know, and I understand this year I've seen the most I've ever seen in my whole career come up. I think it's very important, and I think this is what's going to really change. I hope in the next coming years that all these guys that started out, you know, through Corona and stuff, they grow and they actually get to a place where they're reaching.
For sure, yeah. And
a wider audience, you know, because we need the bridge as much as possible.
Yeah, that's exactly, I agree. And I feel like the more content you have and the more like sharing of like cross-pollination of audiences.
Of course, like I'll give you an example. When was it? It was maybe 3 years ago. I dropped myself in Atlanta with my producer. Just off the basis, we had 2 people there who wanted to make beats with us or record. Didn't really have much, but once we announced that we were going there, now we had 7 people who wanted to come work with us. So what we did is we went to the most expensive studio and we rented the cheapest room. So we could just be in the vibe. And we're like, all right, we're gonna rent like 6 hours every day for like 10 days. Like, let's go. You know, so by the third day, we started getting recognized by the people who own the studio.
Right.
And then by, you know, the fourth, fifth day, we started having a lot of people start coming in. We were working, we were networking, and there was just some point where the owner of the studio said, hey man, like, yo, Lil Durk's in the next studio just doing like a listening party, like you're welcome to like go.
Sick, yeah.
And we're like, whoa, like there's this kind of networking happening around here where like this guy's just happens to be in the same studio as us, like this is huge people.
Well,
you
you
know?
guys are also going to like the best studio, right?
Yeah, but you know, you go to the best studio in Montreal, you could be here for years, you're never gonna see anybody.
That's true, yeah.
You know? And it's these kind of vibes. You go out there, people pop in your studio. You know, you go to studios in LA, there is this random interaction fact that you'll never get in Montreal. And sometimes these opportunities is what really just helps music scenes pop off and people interact with different people just because they're in the studio together.
For sure, yeah. Like, so you're saying like the main part of networking would be like in the studio.
For sure, it's where the best networking always goes down. I've brought together so many different people you would never think because they always see the studio as a safe space.
Right.
And this is the one where everyone, you know, we're all here to do the same thing. So I've never been worried about clients and stuff like this. I have friends telling me, like, oh, you really let those people? Like, da-da-da-da-da. I'm like, dude, we're all here to get away from whatever we're doing out there.
Yeah.
No one's coming to the studio trying to start shit. It's not the place for it. You
Yeah.
know, this is where we're gonna get out of that lifestyle. We're gonna get out of all this. So I've never felt uncomfortable. I've never had a situation with an artist, you know, who they tried to do shady stuff, you know, like rob me or stuff. I never had any of that. I've always felt 100% safe with everybody I've worked with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sick. Like you as an artist, and especially you're always involved in a studio, right? So like your style must be like super diverse because you're just hearing so many different things.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I started off when there wasn't really like auto-tune going on and stuff, so it was just raw vocals, freestyling, and getting it down.
Do you have like a certain style, or are you still like open to like whatever?
I'm open to everything.
Okay.
From the auto-tune vibes to like just the raw vibes and mixing them up, and even going into the battle, like like I really live for this music thing, and anything that like involves with it to showcase the talent, to express myself, you know, music has been amazing. Even this trip I did to Kowa, there was a company called Elan that helped fund the trip because they wanted to do research on how music could help your mental health, you know, and how it could help you cope with certain things rather than go towards other destructive paths. So we were able to see, you know, there was some times where kids, there would be an interaction between them where one of them would get frustrated, and you could tell that he was the first instinct, you know, is to get aggressive, but then they hold it back and they put on the headphones and they go to the iPad, and like I've seen this happen like twice out there where they're like, no, just you know, go into music, and they start doing that. And to me, that's like a breakthrough moment where I'm like, wow, like they've actually taken in more than just the lessons of how to make beats, but they're actually using this now as an outlet to you know, to guide their anger, their frustrations, and to me that's
so they're not like they're not getting frustrated from like what they're making, or
no, they get frustrated with like another student. They get into a little like fight or something instead of like, you know, going to hit the kid or whatever, throw something back, a piece of paper. They would go into their iPads and go into their work. And you know, I've had things like this happen on after school programs. They don't even have to be there, and it was just amazing to see the kind of participation we were getting. Yeah, it was very nice.
So did this company hit you guys up and they're like, oh, we want to do this
I was working with Tina Viber, and she was in a school out in Montreal here. She had kids come by for a program to show them about the studio, how, you know, you don't have to be that guy in a suit to be successful. You can be yourself to be successful, and you can find a job in the arts field. They are payable. You know, so when I was able to show them the tour of the studio, there's photo studios, there's actually people whose job is photography and they do this on a living, you know? For kids to see this, I was never taught this in school. I never knew there was things to do other than, you know, you hear doctor, lawyer, or working at some fucking spot, you know?
Did you have parents that were like, where are you from? What's your background?
I'm from Côte Saint-Luc.
Okay, but are you like...
my mom's Moroccan.
Okay.
And my dad, 3 generations, been in Montreal.
Okay.
Jewish on both sides.
Okay.
So definitely, we had a cool upbringing through Côte St. Luc and stuff.
Right.
My parents were been separated ever since I was a kid.
Okay. But did they like guy like doctor lawyer type shit?
My sister became a doctor.
Okay.
But my mom definitely was no doctor. She owned a bridal company.
Okay.
When I was young, my dad owned a formwear company.
Okay, sick. So you're getting insight into like business.
But it was kind of weird, and I kind of realized recently, I'm like, yo, how come y'all never gave me no game? As I grew up, but I'm like, because they didn't have those companies as I got older. When I was like 4 or 5, both those went down. They separated, and like my dad, he lived with his parents till I was like 18. My mom ended up going deeper and deeper into Côte St. Luc and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it was just this whole thing, and when I started getting like 18, I was like, yo, like, didn't you own a company when like we were kids? Didn't you own like, yo,
like financial
how do you see me doing all this? And like, you don't have no like accounting advice,
input,
So I always make it a thing, for all the engineers, all the artists I work with, I always try to give them game, because nobody had given me that when I was coming up. And it was just hard to really figure out, like, am I a small business now? Or am I grown? Like, when did I make the switch to just being a small business to like some studio
like in-house
that's
everything?
Like this big like industry guy? It's like where did this switch happen? Because like I just came out the basement. Especially like when I got that building, it was like this whole middle ground vibe. And okay, now we're doing a lot more business, like an accountant, I guess. Like you just have to learn, And there's no things in school for this. My parents didn't give me game on that, and you just
also
sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes you get these letters in the mail that you have to address, and you just figure it out.
Taxes.
Oh, geez, this blue letter,
Yeah.
And you figure it out, and you get through it, and that's really how I did it, and it just happened real fast. When I went from that place in 1180 St. Antoine, that little studio there, to a full building where I'm renting out locals to 6 people, and it's a Studio A, Studio B, a photo room, a radio room. I was like, okay, like, guess we're not a small company anymore, And I guess I gotta start getting things in line, and that's when like, you put on your big boy pants and you figure out the game, and you gotta take a couple steps away to really analyze again.
Yeah, you're basically a media company, like.
It's multimedia now.
Yeah,
for sure. I always started, and usually our main pull is through audio, but once they learn about everything that we could offer them, they're like, why go anywhere else? If everybody else works the way that you do, I get my work done here, I get it back the same day, or not even the same day, you get it back at the end of your session, you're going home listening to your song in your car. Right. People love that.
Yeah, especially, that's the thing, right? Because you're full-time in this now. Like, when you're doing this part-time, that's when like deadlines are getting pushed, and like your motivation's just.
I never liked having that whole thing where it's like, look, if you're gonna work with me or my team, like whatever we do, it gets done the same day, or you're gonna have it the next day. But usually it's like, when we sit with you, we do it, then we hit the computers right after, and we get it exported, we get it to you, because it's hard to move, especially when you're I'm waiting on this guy, it's gonna take a month, waiting on this guy, and it's demotivating for an artist to be waiting on people and to try to make your thing move. They don't have managers. Half these people don't have a team or anything. They're just self-supported. They have a job, and they're trying to follow what they want to do. So why give more blocks and more problems? This is something that's already really hard.
Right.
There's no information about really how to be an artist. You really got to go off.
There's no like
limb a lot.
Like there's no like.
There's a lot of examples. There's a lot of anomalies.
But there's no like physical blueprint that you have.
For sure, you just got to find. There's no recipe. There's good moves.
Right.
You got to find what works for you. And from my experience, every artist works completely different in the studio. From guys like Riff Raff, who literally record 1 bar at a time, to guys like Mano, who write everything in their head, and they can spit the whole song consistently 100 times. Will always be the exact same. It's amazing. Everyone has their own way of doing it, and you got to work with it. And if you, as an engineer, if you don't understand how to mold and to adapt to people, then you're gonna have time connecting. Right,
and there's a lot of decision-making skills involved too, right? Like, when in your case, like, are you more like gut feeling based, or are you kind of just like weighing out the?
If I know the artist and I know their capabilities, it usually takes like 1 session to know where an artist is at. that's when I'll start really getting involved with them, especially if they want it. Sometimes I'll say something to an artist, they're like, I know what I'm doing. No problem. But then there's some people who like, I'll say something to them and they're like, oh wow, okay. They have that moment of realization and they're like, okay, I'll fix that or this and that. But if I see you're at a certain level of rapping and you rap off beat, you know, I know if you're good or if you're bad, you know, I know if it's worth saying something, you know, so I know some people are like, yo, you're off beat, man, you gotta fix that up. Like, I know you could do better than that. I've heard you spit that better before. Matter of fact, you were out here in this room, you spit that to me, it doesn't sound like anything that you're doing in there right now. So sometimes giving that motivation,
yeah, so you have to give that pep talk, right? Okay. What would you rather have, an artist that's not really serious about his craft but he's like super talented, or would you rather have an artist that's just like consistent, like always on his shit?
Consistency, because at the end of the day, if you don't want it, it's a waste of talent.
Right.
You know, I could pop out 20 artists right now that are amazing that don't have any work flow, they don't have any drive for this game. But some of the dirtiest artists will be unheard, and that's like one of the worst facts of this game.
I know, it's crazy.
The craziest artists, the illest penmanship. Like, I've heard some guys, man, but they don't want to do it. It's just not realistic to their lifestyle. So why push someone that doesn't want to do that?
True.
You know, if they don't want to do it, like, it goes back to what I said, you know, you can't tell somebody what to do. They got to want it.
Right, yeah.
You know, and it's in the game when you're an artist as well. If you don't want it, man, like, it's just not worth it. You know, if you're moving just because people are saying, yo, when's your tape dropping, or when's this, you're so good, and that's your only motivation to do music, music's not for you. You know, you gotta want to do this. And, you know, regardless of what I hear or say people say about the music, this, like, you know, whether they're bigging me up or they're not feeling it or whatever, I always want to make music. That's just it. You know, and that's why I was just trying different avenues, from the battles to just doing tracks and videos and stuff. It's amazing, man. The best feeling is after a battle when everyone's going wild and stuff and you take the guy's money. You know, that's a crazy feeling, you know? It's like, because there was no time in music where I've ever won. Because there is no winning.
There's no, exactly. It's like a long process. Right?
Yeah. So it's like, there was like just that moment. It was just like, bam, 3 judges, they said you won. You know, that's it.
So like for like success though as a musician, like, there's no winning, right? So like, when would you know that you're like successful as a musician, or do you even care about that?
Well, I mean, whether or not you care about it, there's always like a limit where, you know, you're seeing success from your music.
Right. Yeah.
You know, I don't, but I would love to. If I were to see money come in anyway, I would love it to be primarily from my artistry.
Okay.
Right now, my artistry fuels my business. So I'm still at the point where, you know, we're still growing as artists. I'm still growing artists under me, and I'm still helping, you know, almost like 80% of the city figure out their music as well. But when it comes down to just actually growing and everything, like me as an artist right now, every time I release music, it brings a whole bunch of people back to Makeway. So in a term, like, it all plays hand in hand. But I guess when you start seeing that interaction that you want, everyone has a different meaning of what success is, but
true.
You know, when you see those numbers come into a point where you don't really have to be working, when the music, those Spotify streams and your features and everything that you're doing that makes you money as an artist is outweighing your job, I feel like that's where, you know, as an artist, it starts to become a career. And once you make anything a career, that's how you could even start to say you're successful.
Right. Yeah. Why did you choose to stay in Montreal versus just leave to like another city?
I'm rooted here, man. You know, I love Montreal. There's a lot of culture, but it's super difficult. It's extremely hard to leave. I have tried dabbling around in Florida, opening up a studio there, but it's a very hard game. It was just pre-Corona. We were about to make the big move to actually announce like a studio out there, and Corona hit right away. It was great. You know, we were able to pull back before it got too serious. And I was also doing the exact same time when I was moving over my studio from Verdun to Park Avenue, where we're at now.
Right.
Everything was happening at the same time. It was just Corona time, so I feel good that I pulled back just in time before this whole pandemic hit.
Yeah, for sure.
But I feel like after, I definitely will start looking into locations into Florida. That's always been the
so
dream.
like COVID didn't really change your mind on that?
No, I mean, no, not at all. But I definitely know that, you know, Montreal, at where it's at right now, it's not 100% fit for an artist, you know, to thrive to his full potential. You know, there's just not enough platforms out here for an English artist, at least.
Yeah.
We see a lot of the French people definitely have, but you go to Florida, they've never heard of a French artist before.
That's the thing, right?
You know, like there's a demographic for it. There's, you know, don't get me wrong, you could definitely pop, you could definitely make your money. You know, I've worked with Enima, same thing when he started out, just trying to figure it out, how to do the right voices and stuff. And now look at him, you know, he's doing all these things. I would say he's a successful artist.
Right,
he's definitely made that his main source of income and everything.
Right.
You know?
But the language barrier, that's the thing. Like, English is internationally understood, so like it just makes sense. Even though, yeah, we're Montreal, Quebec, French, whatever, I feel like it's really important to have like that English platform or platforms, and we need to showcase that because there's an untapped audience that we could get from around the world that are going to be interested in Montreal, like the scene, the culture, you know, all of that.
It's just, there's literally laws that prevents, you know, like radio stations from being able to play fully English music or fully English, you know, so it's like...
At least we've got like YouTube though, right? So
100%. We have platforms, that's why we need people to use these platforms prominently, you know, that aren't just artists, but are more of like interviews or, you know, culture-based platforms like that. But yeah, it's super, super hard for an artist to pop off in the English scene. You know, and that's why you see so many people getting picked up in Atlanta and stuff, or in New York or in Florida, is because, you know, you're at the studio and the next dude's in the next room.
Yeah.
You know, like, even if you have the money out here, there's not really that many things to spend it on that are going to get you to that next level. And I've seen people spend thousands on thousands out here, whereas if they would have done that same kind of promotion in the States, it would have brought them a lot further. And at the same time, this is all things that get seen by people back home. You're able to do the things properly to bridge things back to Montreal, you're going to be doing more for the community out here than ever. And that's why every time an artist comes by my studio, I let them know, you know, how important it is and like what it really does for our scene. You know, you coming out to our studio rather than just coming into the show and dipping, this really helps us out.
Yeah, and I noticed with you too, you really represent Montreal and like the city, and like sometimes rappers don't really, even if they come from Montreal, they're not really bragging about their city, you know what I mean? Because like Montreal just seems like that low-key, like it's not really anything to brag about, I guess, in the music space.
To an extent, you know, a lot of people...
well, I know like the EDM, like the electronic culture here is fucking crazy. Like, we're internationally known. I think we're in like the top 12 of international EDM spots. So like...
Right, because of our festivals, obviously.
Our festivals, and even just like all our underground like raves and shit that go on here. And like I'm thinking of doing like live sets and stuff this summer, and I wanna start looking at another branch called LOWKEY Labs.
Nice.
And I'm gonna start doing. We were actually gonna do one on the 29th. That's gonna be the first like test run, see how it goes. But I want to eventually do like events and shit too, because like that's what I want. I want to build that community. And I feel like we could all like hop on each other's thing and like help each other out and like build that network.
I'm always down for these kind of things. You know, there was a couple that were happening pre-COVID and stuff, where there was just ciphers going on. You know, you go, there's a bunch of musicians, there's a bunch of artists, and everyone's just freestyling, playing music, and these kind of things were the best vibes. It's definitely what Montreal needs, and it's definitely going to help bring a lot more people together.
Right. Like the UK scene too, like Link Up TV, Daily Duppy, like all these like YouTube channels are what like showcase that grime scene, you know? And like I love that shit. Like I listen to that thing all the time, and it also changes like our influence. Like we could easily have our own sound too with mixing English and French. There's like so many opportunities and options, you know.
Yeah, it's just it's where you want to go with it and what's going to really break the market. You know, we've seen a lot of success with Loud. He's been one of the more prominent artists to mix the English and French scene up. He sold out Bell Center like 2 nights in a row or something, you know, like that kind of stuff. That's amazing for Montreal. We've never had artists really do things like that. So there's definitely a cool vibe like that, but I've always been aimed more towards the English industry, and I feel like if I want to take Makeway to the next level or take Budz to the next level, it's going to be going out to the States and getting out to the bigger industry. What I always put a lot of emphasis on is that I build the bridge. No matter who I meet, no matter what I do, I let them know where I'm from. I let them know about the studio that we got going on back home, and I try to, by any means, to get them back. like when I was in Atlanta, I was walking out that studio one day, and the guy's like, hey, hold up, before you go, I want you to meet somebody. I was like, who's that? Oh, this guy, Sean Payne. He's a Gucci Man engineer for Young Thug. That starts naming out. I looked at his Instagram. I was like, fuck, okay, this guy's into some shit. He meets us. He's like, oh, you them Canadian boys?
Sick,
and we're like, yeah. He's like, come in my studio. So now we go from the smallest studio to the biggest studio, SSL board, the fucking 60-inch TV playing news. It's just like unnecessary things in the room, you know, it was just huge. And we're playing our beats for this guy, you know, and he was like, oh, it's nice, man, we really appreciate it. Where you from? And tell him, from Montreal, we do this thing, the studio. And I told him, you know, I actually have a good relationship with Recording Arts Canada back home, which is the school that I graduated from. It would be amazing to have somebody like you come back and give a talk. And he's like, oh, well, you know, I was actually already in talks with the one in Toronto. If you could hook me up something in Montreal, I'll do that too. And
yeah, exactly.
It ended up happening. He came by Montreal. He did a class with him.
That's awesome.
Him, like, how engineering is like on like a fast level.
Right.
And it's these kind of things that we need. We need to bring these people back home whenever we meet them out there, because you know, you could do well for yourself, like you could grab these opportunities all for yourself, but if you bring it back home, it's going to bring so much more of an impact for not only yourself, but for the whole city.
Right. And like you said, like Toronto's popping off right now, right? So like we have people stopping by there anyways. You just got to add another stop, and like everything's, I feel like it's
from there. You know, I've worked with Young Tory in the studio. He came by from Montreal a couple times actually by the studio. That kind of stuff helps out a ton. You know, when artists are doing tracks with him, he's doing music videos in my studio. Like, he's a great guy. You know, the first time he was a bit quiet, second time opened up more. And he was really like trying to talk and do shows in Montreal and stuff like that. So it's really cool, really meeting people and seeing what their vibe is like, how they are in person. Everyone has a different vibe.
What about Honor Roll Records though? What's your affiliation with them, and what do they do?
So Honor Roll Records, it's a local record label. They have a couple artists signed to them, Baby Rose, Mike the Rapper, Story, and these are all people also that I've started with it. Like, you know, when I was working at my way in music, like these guys are always around me too, so it's cool that they're also signed on his label, because these are people that I'm comfortable working with. He has the whole upstairs floor, and it's just a big open office. You know, we're there pretty much every day working with artists, working on new projects. Recently he's been doing the live shows where we'll take the whole office down, set up curtains, set up a whole stage, do a nice thing.
Is that where like there's like a cypher?
Yeah.
I saw like Honor Roll Records had like cyphers too.
It was live shows. It was like that. It wasn't branded as ciphers, but it was more as like live sets that are happening. We would have them for about like 2 hours, and we'd have a bunch of artists come in, acoustic artists, singers, R&B. I did one of them too. And it's just great because we were able to take our production, take what people were doing that we've seen, and enhance it. Because, you know, you see a lot of times it's not really done properly, or people seem awkward or things like that. Like, how do we make this good? So we got everything from lights that you would see at venues. We got those big venue lights. We got smoke machines. We got all of our nice cameras together. So it's not being done on iPhones and things like this. We created a show, and Kyle, he's just amazing at putting all these things together, getting the team, and having that extra person to bounce off of. Like, he's been great. Never really found anybody where I could really relate to like that. And it's great to have somebody like-minded in the business, because if you're clashing with somebody all the time, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, we each have our own company, we each have our own thing, but we're so tight in the music game. It's like everything works together. So yeah, you come by Makeway, you'll definitely see Honor Roll.
Yeah, I'm down to stop by again, just to actually properly check out the place. And I do like behind the scenes, like vlogging and stuff, like on a personal YouTube channel, which I don't really like share. I'm just kind of.
If you ever want to come by the studio, we do jam sessions. I have multiple times a week I'm in there doing personal music. I'll book out the studio just so I could have my time with a producer or whoever that I'm trying to network with.
Yeah, I would definitely be down to check it out and like actually see the vibe, you know, and experience it.
And being able to use the studio starting up, you know, I was always using the studio as like a tool to grow my artistry. So I used to, when I got that big studio, you know, I was coming from a little box, and this guy left the room. I had this whole built studio. I was like, yo, I'm going to start using this to my advantage. So I started having people promoters that were doing the big shows. Hey, come to my studio, I want to talk to you, tell you what I'm doing, you know? So now I'm like this 17, 18-year-old kid behind this whole studio, you know? And it was sometimes, appearance helps when you're trying to get your point across, you know?
But the appearance also,
what I was doing.
The appearance also relates to like who you are as a person too, because like you said, you keep everything clean, so you're representing you on like a different level.
Yeah. So this is, I'm showcasing now like the business side of myself to these promoters, saying, look, this is what I'm trying to do as an artist. Do you think we could work out something here? And I was able to strike deals with all these people to the point where I was opening up for all the shows. I was getting all the nice opportunities when famous people were in town. I was the go-to studio when they were in town. If they were looking, they would know to mention Makeway as the spot, you know? And every time someone famous came or something like that, it was always by a call to me. I never had contacts to reach out to anybody.
Right.
I'd hear about a show, so I would just be on the alert to see if a foreign number's calling. I'd be sitting there, someone from LA, I'm like, hello, it's someone's manager, and then they book the session, they ask, oh, are you free tonight? Tonight, and every day I'm booked. I'm looking at like a full schedule. I'm like, yeah, sure, yeah, we're free, and calling people.
I'll figure this out,
giving people deals. We're sorry, we'll hook you up your next session for free or like whatever, you make it work, and when there's certain opportunities, you have to prioritize. So these little things, like I say, they help out so much for not only the company, but for the city to show that, there is a culture here. It's not just a random town that has nothing going on.
Right. Yeah, I feel like if you had a podcast in studio, because you have like the perfect location for it, and like people like that come into town, it's like such a perfect situation. You just have them sit down and talk for a bit,
For sure. A lot of people don't like to always showcase what goes on behind closed doors.
Okay.
For their own reasons, but.
What do you mean,
not all artists want to have a cameraman while they're in the studio doing whatever.
Right. No, I'm saying like a podcast.
But to have them come in after, we've had Mad Child when he came in to record. Right after he came to our Makeway radio room and he did an interview with us.
Right.
So there's some guys that love doing things like that. There's some guys that are like, yo, get the cameras out of my face. I'm at my creating time right now.
Okay.
Take the cameras when I'm on stage, but like this is
you gotta respect that for sure.
So it's like whatever the artists want to do to get into their zone. They don't always want that showcase.
That makes sense. Yeah, because it was just like...
And that's the big thing that I always value. In the studio is privacy. No one's ever came to a session with me and there's dudes in the corner chilling. It's like, you don't want there to be anyone. It's private.
You want to be comfortable. That's when you could be the most free, right? And that's where like the good shit comes out.
Hell yeah. Ever since I did start Makeway, it was always to do something more than just a recording studio. It was to really make it like a hub where artists could come do everything from A to Z. And this is where we really made ourselves different from all these other studios, especially having our engineers, including myself, being artists. We understand what the artist is going through in the booth. We understand what they're thinking. And when your music is, created by artists at the same time, they understand everything, the little intonations in your voice, the things that just a regular engineer wouldn't hear because they're just listening for technical things. But there's sometimes that extra level that you could only get from somebody who knows music as an artist.
What would your advice be to like young, like up and coming artists, or like anybody who wants to get into the music scene? Like, what would be your advice to them?
In Montreal, to always do you, be yourself. No matter where you're at. The more genuine you are with this game, the better it's going to treat you back. People could spot it a mile away. I could have artists coming in and like you don't even have to know what they look like. You could hear what they sound like, and it's not real. Just be real, be yourself. And recognize, a big thing is recognize your accent. Recognize where you're from. Recognize what sounds. I see a lot of people, they try to rap in different languages that aren't theirs. And when you're making a lot of grammatical mistakes and like you're, like, it doesn't sound good.
It's not authentic.
Like figure out who you are. That's not you. And people could hear it. And sometimes I hear some artists, I'm like, man, if you just did it in your native tongue, you would be able to hit this game so much harder, and it goes for English, French people, any ethnicity, it's a do you, you'll always see a better result. And Yeah, it's I've been in the booth where I've seen white guys drop N-bombs. I'm like, no. I'm like, no, like, don't do that, man, you know? And like I don't care, like, it doesn't make sense, you know? And like, you gotta really just be straight with your stuff, and you know, definitely pay attention to production, pay attention to how you release, when you release, how you display yourself, how you brand yourself, because every time you release a piece of content, whether it be something on Instagram, whether it be a song, that's gonna be somebody's first impression. Every time you drop something. So, you know, how do you want people to see you? Because eventually, you know, you run out of these people in your direct circle, and those are going to be the biggest ones to boost you up.
Yeah, that's where you start the growth, right?
Yeah.
What do you think is better for an artist to like make people wait and then release something, like, and have like kind of like what J. Cole's doing, for example, right? Or someone like a Drake, for example, where he's like always putting shit out, you know? Like, what do you think is better for like an artist that's starting out?
I'd say consistency is key.
Okay.
You know, but don't release to the point where you're starting to lack in production.
Okay.
You know,
Quality.
but you know, there's always this middle ground where they say, you know, what's the recipe here? There's no recipe. Well, I've seen this guy, he popped off of just doing a little thing on his iPhone. Why do I have to go spend? Doesn't happen like that for everybody, and especially if you're in Montreal, it's very low chances of happening, you know?
Yeah.
People that are doing that do pop off on that kind of thing, have the thousands of people around them. We don't have that, you know? Like, it's a very, when you think about population, it's a lot smaller here. You know, and we're not a small city, but we're not a big city.
Yeah.
And we're not as big as a lot of people think we are. We have a huge culture and art for our city. That's undoubtable. But, geez, like, you know, it's not comparable.
Yeah, and there's, for some reason, like, when artists do start kind of getting hyped here, Montreal, like, doesn't really, like, they kind of, not turn on them, but, like, they don't, like, there's always a lot of shit talking involved. Oh, like, look at this guy, fuck this guy, you know? But as soon as they start popping off, like, somewhere else, and they come back to Montreal, then, like, all of a sudden, like, oh, this guy's sick, you know?
Build the bridge, you know? This is like anywhere, though, you know? The people who don't know you show you the most support. The people who know you are tired of your tricks.
True.
They heard it all, they've seen it all.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why you'll always see outside people supporting more. Like, when people go outside, that's when people change and stuff, you know? But at the end of the day, I would always say that people want the most of your success. They just want to see you put in it. And when people say, like, oh, you'll support Drake, but you won't support the local rapper. Well, look at what Drake's putting out, and look at what the local rapper's putting out. You know, you could tell who put in that time for the production. And the guys who do put in time for the production do get that support from their city. You know, but I see a lot of guys, they drop these little street videos and wonder why no one supports them, and say that, oh, our city's just a bunch of haters, nobody fucks with the artists. That's not true.
Yeah.
Our city loves music, our city loves artists in English and French, but they just need to see production. They need to see them doing something. They need to see them caring about their craft.
Yeah.
And that goes right back to it. If you want to do it, you're going to want to do it yourself, and only you could tell yourself that this is what you want.
You're competing with what's being put out around the world versus what...
And now with Instagram, YouTube, everyone sees what's being put around the world. You have something to be compared to.
Exactly.
Make yourself comparable.
I think, like, the problem is, what tends to happen is that they're competing with other artists in Montreal, and they're not looking at the global stage, and, like, that's where they're fucking up, because, like, obviously you can make a music video look better than the guy in Montreal, for example, right? But like, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to that guy.
Never. You know, you shouldn't really be comparing yourself to anyone, but you should understand the level of production that these people are putting in.
Right.
A lot of people, they're like, oh, this guy, he's popping, he's only 16, It doesn't matter. Everyone pops at their own time. At the end of the day, you know, if you're doing what you love, you're doing you, it will succeed. You just have to have that consistency, and you have to have a constant workflow.
That's it, yeah. Yeah, we're...
And most importantly, you always gotta make way.
Weird, bro. Well, I appreciate you coming. I'm really glad we connected.
Yeah, for sure. And like, I hope we do get to do work outside of this studio in the
for
future.
Sure, I would be down to
definitely
collaborate.
See your mind state, and you look like you're very ambitious. So to have people like this on the team, we're always looking to grow.
Dope. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in like doing projects with you and stuff like that. It'll be fucking sick.
Yeah, for sure.
For post-COVID times.
Whatever
Can't
it
wait.
is, it looks like it's happening soon for the dudes.
Did you get vaxxed yet?
No.
No. Did you get your appointment?
No.
Are you an anti-vaxxer?
I'm not gonna speak about that.
Come on, give me some clickbait. But yeah, no, don't worry, it's all good. But yeah, so if you want, you can do like an outro or like, I don't know. I know you have a tattoo of Makeway. I had an idea of you like walking up to the camera with the tattoo.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you one cool thing about this tattoo actually is me, CB43, and DJ Despair. When we did a trip out to Nova Scotia for a couple shows, we ended up at one of Despair's buddy's crib, and he does tattooing out of a truck.
Okay.
Showed us the whole truck, everything. And he's like, yeah, I travel all through Canada, I do tattoos, da-da-da. Right now we actually have something going on. I'm like, oh yeah, what's up? He's like, well, I got this promo. I'm like, well, what's the promo? He's like, well, it's rap for your tat, sing for your ink. And I was like, shit. I'm like, well, you about to have to do my whole sleeve because you don't know what you just got yourself into. He's like, well, we can work out something. So he said, all of us started talking with each other, let's all get our company logos tatted, so we all got it done. Even the guy, he was like, well, now you got to rap, so as I was getting it tattooed, I was spitting for the guy.
Oh, so it's while you're getting tatted?
Huh?
It's while you're getting tatted?
While I was getting tatted, I was rapping. My other boys didn't rap there. CP wasn't spitting bars, but
CP's just snapping pictures like a ninja.
Pictures, doing the thing. We have some great shots of that, and it was great. It was an experience, to really say like, yo, like this is our bread and butter right here. This is what we've been doing. All three of us, like, let's lay it down, and it's my only tattoo I have.
Yeah, and you like really committed for that. That's like a nice big piece.
Yeah, for sure. I haven't thought of other pieces, but I know no matter what happens, it's Makeway till I die. Like this has been like my bread and butter. I've built it up from the basement, to what it is today, and it just feels great to like just have that behind me and something that I could always say like, I built this is like my creation, and like I would love to have as many people come by and enjoy it and benefit off of what I've done for the music community.
And what's beautiful about like a big project like that is like a lifelong project, like Makeway is always going to be becoming better and like bigger, and like it's not like you get something done and you're like, oh, okay, that's it for Makeway, you know what I mean? So that's sick. I'm excited to see where Makeway goes to.
Thanks, man. And if we could break into the States, guarantee
for sure. Have Makeway
guarantee like Montreal ain't losing me out there. I always bring everything right back, and it's always been noticed. It's always been a thing. We gotta hold it down for our city. There's so many artists coming up here that deserve that platform, that deserve to be able to be brought up just like they're getting brought up in these other places. And it all, like I said, all starts with the studio. A lot of artists will tell you that. A lot of people in the biz will always tell you the best place to network, the best place to come together always happens in the studio. This is where the creative juices are flowing. So to have a good environment for this, which there's maybe about 2 spots in Montreal that I even have a close to good environment, it's hard, so me being able to create this and even have a Studio B location for another studios that are coming up to have a good area to showcase their business and everything, like I love that. I've brought up about 4 studios to this point.
That's it.
Like I don't see it as competition. How do we help each other?
Yeah, you grow together for sure. You grow as one.
Yeah, anyone who tells me they're starting a studio in Montreal, I tell them good luck. And if they want to do anything with me or in my studio, you're more than welcome.
You would give them advice and everything. Yeah, I respect that for sure. But yeah, man, thanks for coming, dude.
Most def, LOWKEY MTL.
That's it.
Thanks for having me by.